Welcome back to the news at 10. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says the federal government is committed to improving the ease of doing business in the country to enable business enterprises thrive. He was speaking at the launch of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Clinic in Birnin Kebbi, the Kebbi state capital, where he described the sector as the fulcrum of the nation's economy.
Micro and small businesses are crucial drivers of economic growth and development because of their roles in strengthening local economies and providing jobs for many. This gathering at the launch of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Clinic in Birnin Kebbi, the Kebbi state capital, is amongst ongoing efforts to grow the MSME sector, with the federal government spearheading the drive. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, inspects various products and interacts with the producers and manufacturers. He commends the level of innovation and assures them of necessary support.
Our own business as regulators, as government, is to make it easy for people to do business. That's what we're supposed to do. If it's too expensive to register the product, then we are not encouraging the people to register. We're not encouraging them to do their business. So we are going to see to it that we give these products the kind of price that people can afford, that business people, small businesses can afford, and that does not discourage these small businesses.
On his part, the Kebbi State Governor commends the industrious drive of those who see the opportunities that abound in entrepreneurship.
Support to the medium and small-scale enterprise sector is a critical missing link that will help boost our economic activity and our participation in markets, domestic and foreign. What has been achieved over the last 4 years is a testament to what we can do once we support the right leadership.
With the wide range of items on display, the potential of small business is evident. The Vice President calls on regulatory agencies to join in supporting the growth and development of micro, small and medium enterprises.
Let's take a look at some business news for the day. Here's Anne Waudu.
Thank you, Ijoma. The federal government has inaugurated an interagency to speedily recover the 5 trillion naira debt owed the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. The task force, headed by the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Professor Bolaji Owosoye, is constituted to resolve the challenges in debt recovery process. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who inaugurated the committee today in Abuja, challenged the team to change the current difficult process where debtors default in their payment obligations. The committee is also expected to consider other options, including taking enforcement measures in recovering the debts, at which about 67% of the outstanding amount is set to be owed by 20 individuals. The Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee has rescheduled the date for its 5th meeting for the year. According to a statement released today, the 2-day meeting, which was earlier expected to hold between Monday, September the 23rd and Tuesday, September the 24th, will now hold on Thursday, September the 19th and Friday, September the 20th. The CBN regrets any inconvenience caused by this change. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the commencement of charges on deposits in addition to the already existing charges on withdrawals. According to the statement from the CBN, the charges will take effect from Wednesday, September the 18th, 2019, and will attract 3% processing fee for withdrawals and 2% processing fee for lodgement of amounts above 500,000 naira for individual accounts. The statement, however, explains that the charge on deposits will apply in Lagos, Ogun, Abia, Kano, Anambra and Rivers State, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, while the implementation of the cashless policy will take effect on March the 31st, 2020. Now let's head latest data coming from the National Bureau of Statistics. It shows that inflation eased to 11.02% year-on-year for the month of August, indicating a decrease of 0.06%, while the headline index reduced to 0.99% on a monthly basis. The food index fell to 13.17%, and that's when you compare it to the 13.39% recorded in the month of July. This is due to increases in prices of meat, bread, cereals, potatoes, yam, and other tubers. The index eased to 1.22% from 1.26%, which was recorded in July this year. For core inflation, it eased to 8.68% year-on-year to 0.67% on a monthly basis. On the flip side, the urban inflation rate increased to 11.48% in the month of August from 11.43% in the previous month of July. And rural inflation rate has now eased to 10.61% from 10.64% in July. And rural index also decreased to 0.93% from 0.96% recorded in July. Let's head to the domestic stock market. It has extended its negative performance for the second day this week after investors maintained sell pressure on bellwether stocks, especially in the shares of Airtel Africa. Layo Adegoke has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Markets Report. The local bourse sustained the negative sentiment it began the week with as the benchmark index dipped by 0.61% to 27,407.04 points following sell-offs in Airtel Africa and banking stocks. Analyzing sector performance, the banking index was sluggish by 0.01%, while insurance, industrial goods and consumer goods recorded gains of 0.76%, 0.57% and 0.18% each. The total volume of shares traded declined when compared to Monday's at 198.03 million units, valued at 2.89 billion naira and exchanged in 3,830 deals. Axis Bank was the highest traded stock by volume and value with 57.81 million shares worth 434 million naira, followed by Zenith and Sterling. Market sentiments, as measured by market breadth, was positive as 22 tickers recorded gains relative to 15 losers. NEM Insurance topped the gainers list by 9.74%, while Airtel Africa recorded the largest decline by 10%. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Thank you, Layo. As for you, before we go to the global stock markets, the central bank's drawback fund, that's a program targeting single-digit loans in the mortgage sector, is expected to make the market more competitive as a monetary policy rate may no longer be a determinant for mortgages. During a visit to the board of Infinity Trust Mortgage Bank to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the managing director, Dr. Olabanjo Obaleye, described the CBN Bankers Committee scheme as a game changer in the financial industry.
In a couple of months now, we'll be seeing the interest drawback from CBN, initiated by CBN, which will make the interest rate on mortgages come down. We've seen recently the CBN has removed the MPR as the base of determining interest rate in mortgage bank. This is in positive direction that we should go. If the interest rate goes below MPR, you were saying that we should not, lend lend at about 400 basis points to MPR. But removing it now will create a free flow of downward trend in the interest rates in the industry. Many other initiatives is being taken on by the government, which we believe will make the sector more vibrant. If you see mortgage industry in other climes, they are the drivers of the economy. So now government is realizing this and taking the front row in annexing the opportunity in the sector.
U.S. stock markets have closed today's session with an upswing from earlier losses, and that's ahead of the Federal Reserve's two-day rate decision meeting, which is scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday. Let's find out how they all fared at the close of business. Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues with Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Saudi authorities have promised that perpetrators of the attacks on its oil facilities will be brought to justice. This comes as the U.S. reveals locations, it says, from where the drones and missiles used in the attacks came from. Iran, however, says the U.S. is in denial with the allegations. Here's Juliana Olainka with more international news on Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been accused of silencing lawmakers, with the UK Supreme Court being told he suspended Parliament to avoid scrutiny of his Brexit plans. Protesters rallied outside the country's highest court of appeal as proceedings started to determine whether or not his decision to prorogue Parliament was lawful. Over 3 days, the judges are hearing 2 challenges relating to the 5-week shutdown. The government is appealing a ruling in Scotland, which found the move was illegal, and campaigner Gina Miller is challenging a London High Court decision which ruled in favour of the government.
The exceptional length of the prorogation in this case is strong evidence that the Prime Minister's motive was to silence Parliament for that period because he sees Parliament as an obstacle to the furtherance of his political aims.
If this court finds that the advice of the Prime Minister was unlawful, the Prime Minister will take all necessary steps to comply with any declaration made by the court. And that is the appropriate way in which this matter should be addressed.
More than 20 people have been killed by a suicide bomber at an election rally in Afghanistan. President Ashraf Ghani was about to address the crowd in Parwan province when the device was detonated. A campaign spokesman says he wasn't hurt by the blast, but more than 30 others, including children, were injured in the attack. And another explosion in the capital, Kabul, has claimed at least 6 lives and more than a dozen others were wounded. It happened near the US Embassy. The Taliban says it was behind both attacks. Counting is underway in Israel to determine who will be the country's next leader. The vote is widely viewed as a referendum on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's seeking a record 5th term in office after he failed to form a government in May. It's the first time in Israel's history that 2 elections have been held in the same year. Opinion polls predicted a close race between Netanyahu and the former army chief Benny Gantz. President Trump says it could go either way.
You know, it's a 50-50 election. A lot of people, if you look at the polls and everything else, is going to be very close. So we'll see what happens. Polls are often wrong.
They now call for annexing all settlements in the West Bank. Is that something your government would...
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, but certainly it's something we're told about that they'd like to do. But no, I don't want to be talking about that.
Netanyahu has promised to annex a third of the occupied West Bank if he's returned to power. Palestinians living there and in Gaza see no positives, regardless of which party wins.
بدهم يقدموا له فرص عمل يعني يطلعوا عمال تشتغل في اسرائيل لا بدهم الدعايه الانتخابيه تبعت التنين حرب جديده على غزه
وكلهم بتآمروا علينا مش حد لنا حاجه حيكملوا على الضفه الغربيه كلها مستوطنات شايف كيف حيزيد الحصار معنا بالزياده واحنا ربنا اللي معانا.
Around 1,000 migrants have been removed from a camp in the north of France. Riot police moved in to clear the facility near Dunkirk following a court order. The migrants, who are mostly young men, many of them Iraqi Kurds, were taken to temporary shelters where they can apply for asylum. But with an increasing number of people trying to cross the channel, officials expect they'll simply return in a bid to reach the UK.
I'm so happy.
And more than 90 refugees have been evacuated from Libya, identified as vulnerable people from Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia and Sudan. The group includes more than 50 unaccompanied children who've been living in detention centres and urban areas. The United Nations Refugee Agency says they're being taken to Italy. It's appealing to other governments to offer similar help.
Evacuations are a lifeline. It provides a future full of hope for many refugees who were detained for over 8 months in Libya.
And finally, a cancer survivor has become the first person to swim across the English Channel 4 times without stopping. American Sarah Thomas, who completed treatment for breast cancer a year ago, finished the record-breaking feat in 54 hours. The swim was supposed to be about 130 kilometres, but strong tides meant she ended up swimming almost double that.
Well done, Sarah! It's going to be awfully hard to stand after all that time. Oh, my word.
The 37-year-old dedicated her achievement to other cancer survivors.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Yeah, well done, Sarah.
Awesome, epic swim.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks a lot, Juliana. Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria Super Eagles to face 5-time world champions in Brazil in an international friendly in October. That's on sports. Just stay with us.